Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. Week 6 on DraftKings is here, and we're going to take a first look at everything that there is to know in NFL DFS Week 6 as far as it pertains to DraftKings. And I'm building a lineup with absolutely no projections, no research, no nothing. We're just going off of my first look here, trying to build a tournament lineup with a double stack and a bring back, a secondary stack to have a little bit of correlation so that we can have a better chance at being right about our lineups. If you play in the Smiz Gang Listener League, smizzle.tv/league will get you into that. Our winners each week have basically come from that. It's a lot easier to build a lineup that way, so that's why we do that. Do this show that way this year versus the way that we've done in past, is trying to identify the best cash game plays. The best cash game plays become extremely obvious. At least each of the first 5 weeks, they've been very, very obvious, those core 5, 6, or 7 cash game plays. So we're focusing more on how to build lineups correctly in tournaments. So thank you guys for being here. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell, because I come out with content 7 days a week. I asked if I could do more. I said, YouTube, can I go 8 days a week? And they said, no, we only have 7 days. I said, fine, but I'm going to put out 2 videos on Monday then. So that's the way it's going to be. And they said, okay, that's fine. So here we are. Let's take a look at the first look for week 6. Joey B's on the cover. I think that might be a bit of a tell. Let's go.
He's a legend.
I want to ask you to take a second, if you got a second, and type smizzle.tv/charity. There will also be a link below in the pinned comment and in the description if you want to take part in the No Kid Hungry fundraiser that we are doing here on the channel. We're trying to raise $25,000 by the end of the calendar year, and I personally will match every $5,000 that the community donates up to $25,000, hopefully giving us a grand total of $50,000 raised for the 1 in 6 kids across America who are struggling with food insecurity. No Kid Hungry does a great job getting food in terms of school breakfast, school lunches, and at-home care to all the kids who are food insecure in the United States. So if you won this weekend in week 5, consider, making a little bit of a donation. Every single dollar helps. We've had as small as $5, as small as $1, up to like a $5,000 donation. So the more you give, the more I have to give. So let's get after it as a community and see what we can do. Heading over to here, obviously the Listener League is up this week, smizzle.tv/league. There's a link down below in the description. Click show more if you wanted to find that, as well as links to every single one of my socials, everywhere. Just get after it. So looking at the quarterbacks for this week, Patrick Mahomes does not look great, and now his entire cast of receivers is hurt. CEH on IR. Tyreek Hill banged up. Travis Kelce banged up, got a stinger. He's probably going to play. Tyreek Hill, we don't know if he's going to miss time. 8,300 does seem like a lot, but this matchup with Washington has given up the most points to opposing quarterbacks this year, and Kansas City has given up the second most points to opposing quarterbacks this year. Assuming that everybody's healthy, this might be a real good get well spot for Patrick Mahomes in the highest total game on the slate. Chiefs favored by 6.5, total of 55 in this one. Neither defense has been able to stop anybody through the air so far this year. So hopefully his counterpart Heineke can get his act together and start completing some passes instead of throwing weather balloons all over the place. Kyler Murray had kind of a down week, his first one on the season last week against San Francisco, and now he gets an even tougher test going to Cleveland to face off against the Browns. But the Browns gave up a bunch of yards and touchdowns, looked like an absolute mess in coverage against Los Angeles Chargers. You could pay up to be contrarian here. Kyler probably not going to run for 1 yard again on 7 carries. Got the amount of attempts right up there with every other week, but apparently just ran for 1 yard as he ran backwards. Also lost 2 fumbles. Just a bad week all around. Great spot for a bounce back for Kyler Murray. Plenty of options to choose from if you're going to stack. Lamar Jackson coming off the Monday night game, so we're not going to utilize him. And Justin Herbert, again, we just don't know what's going to happen on Monday night, so I try to steer clear of those guys. Both are in play here in week 6. It's a really weird week. Most of the teams that are favored are road teams. More road favorites than I'm used to seeing on a slate, at least so far through this season as it's gone along. Now look at the gap in quarterbacks though, right? So we have all these guys above 7K. Prescott has been outstanding. 4-point favorites in New England. He's been outstanding all year long, right? 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, none. 3 touchdowns. So get rid of this really weird game against the Chargers in week 2. And we know that he can just provide value constantly, as this Cowboys offense is outstanding, but their defense has prevented them from being the Carnival. That Carnival seems to have moved to Kansas City this year. Aaron Rodgers going up against Chicago, a lower totaled game here. 45 is the total. Packers favored by 4.5. Devontae would be your primary. You might go with a secondary stack, with a second player in this stack, depending on which of the pass catchers are healthy. Tunyon has run more routes and seen more targets recently. Matthew Stafford, under 7K. Seems odd. I kind of feel like he's going to be extremely popular this week, coming off of 3 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks, and only one against Seattle, who's like one of the worst defenses in the league in terms of like efficiency against. The Titans really giving up a ton of passing yards, but they're not on the slate. They play on Monday night against the Bills. Guess what's going to be popular on the Monday night showdown? But we're not working on Monday night lineups, Alvin. We're working on main slate lineups. So like Stafford with double stacks, which are very easy, considering there's like 4 guys that catch the ball, 5 if you want to extend to a deep threat, but like really it's Kupp and it's Woods, and it's Higbee, and then you can sprinkle in a little bit of Van Jefferson or sprinkle in a little bit of Djax if you want. But like those 3 guys are the majority of the targetry. But like, I know Joe Burrow has a bruised neck, which doesn't feel comfortable at all. But he's 6,300. He has fantastic hair. This is just phenomenal right here. Like this whole little tidal wave thing. Look at that. You could surf right through that. That's phenomenal. I love that. I'm going to use Joe Burrow because he's 6,300 and playing against Detroit. Detroit has had a couple of good weeks. Let's take a look at their defense real quick. They are inefficient at a lot of different things, but they've had 2 very good weeks at Chicago and at Minnesota. Minnesota was just romping in the first half and then forgot how to pass, or that they should be passing the ball in the second half. Justin Jefferson had 100 yards receiving in the first half. And then they just kind of started to say, well, you know what? This is too easy if we just throw it to Justin Jefferson. It was like the guy in Princess Bride. You know, I have to, you're better than me, I have to admit, but I have to tell you something I don't know, that you don't know. I'm not left-handed. They decided to actually play left-handed in the second half for whatever reason. I'm going to hope that Cincinnati does not do that. And while I feel that whichever running back is going to be healthy here, whether Joe Mixon is completely healthy, he ceded a lot of snaps and a lot of time and a lot of touches to Samaje Perine in week 5. But Perine's on the COVID list right now. Assuming that he is vaccinated, he should be able to be back by the weekend. But if he's not, and Joe Mixon is the only show in town, that volume goes right back up where it used to be. The problem is he has not gotten the amount of usage in the passing game that we had projected for him. Aside from week 1 when he got 4 targets, a high of 2 targets in any other week. The volume on the ground has been great. They definitely utilize him around the end zone. And it is the Detroit Lions who have given up the 4th most DraftKings points to opposing teams so far this year. Assuming that he is the only guy, I think that Joe Burrow double stacks are going to be the way that I kind of want to go with this lineup. So we're going to use Jamar Chase with him. Yeah, we're going to use Jamar Chase with him. He's good. Okay. That's all the analysis that I need here. Jamar Chase is really, really good. So we're going to go with him in this lineup, and then we're going to pick a secondary guy. Now, whether you want to use T. Higgins or Tyler Boyd is going to be up to you. Either one is fine and kind of randomly is going to go off, in my opinion. I don't think that there's much difference if both are healthy, depending on who gets open on that day. T. Higgins should theoretically see more targets, and so therefore he's the route that I'm going to go in this lineup. But Tyler Boyd being 100 more expensive, we know that he can also out of the slot have high target games, have those high volume games, and is the lower ADOT guy. Joe Burrow does tend to look down the right side for Jamar Chase when he lines up out there. We have to bring this back with somebody on Detroit, and the pass catchers just are all over the place, right? Khalif Raymond, oh look, he had 2 targets, then he had 10, then he had 6, then he had 2. Okay, look, TJ Hawkinson, we thought that he was going to be a great thing at the beginning of the season. 9, 11, 9, 2, 8, 3. They're using everybody so sporadically in this offense. Cephas, doubtful, suffered collarbone. He's probably going to be gone. You know, he's not going to be Wolverine. St. Brown, 2 straight weeks of 8 targets. That looks great until like maybe he has 3 this week. So like, even though Jamal Williams is getting about half the running back snaps and touches and carries, all of the pass game work, even though they kind of are split down the middle, and half of the inside the 5 work is going to DeAndre Swift. So he's the higher floor, higher ceiling target with 3 straight. He's the one consistency in this Lions offense, and he's been my primary bring back guy when I've stacked against Detroit. And he's going to continue to be that, at least in terms of this lineup. So now we've got to find a secondary stack. Let's take a look at some running backs. The biggest question mark on this slate for me is whether or not Christian McCaffrey is going to be active. He practiced last week. He was not active with that hamstring injury. Hamstrings can be extremely tough. They can last a long time. They can linger. They are susceptible to re-injury. It takes rest. He's only been out since week 3. He was practicing last week. If they feel he's playing, I kind of feel like I have to treat him like he is full Christian McCaffrey, if not 90% Christian McCaffrey. And 90% Christian McCaffrey is better than 99% of the running backs in the league and should still be 9,500 to 10,500. So 8,800 is too cheap if McCaffrey is projected to be a full go. It's Monday, and I don't know that yet. I'm not going to use him in this lineup, but keep him in mind. He's somebody that we're not going to avoid this week. Alvin, or if he's healthy. Austin Eckler, he's just awesome. We can erase this week at this point, right? Remember the panic? Look at them. They were panicking. People thought they weren't. People who drafted Austin Eckler thought that they weren't going to be able to afford the G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu grip for their kids come Christmas. He didn't get any targets. They're not throwing in the ball. 9, 6, 5 targets over the last 4 games. Getting the usage that we want on the ground. Is he going to get 100% of the carries? No. Is he going to get 100% of the snaps? No. He's getting like 70 to 75% on a week in, week out basis, including all of the inside the 5 carries for this Chargers team, including the massive bulk of the pass game work. 33.9 points, 32.5, 22. His floor is phenomenally high. His touchdown upside has risen dramatically from the past 2 seasons. And Austin Eckler is, even though he's the second highest priced running back on the slate, he's still way too low, in my opinion. Timmy, thank you very much for the tier 1, another new member of the VIP. We can talk about a few other running backs if you want. Saquon Barkley got injured. Ezekiel Elliott's still way too cheap, guys. He stays too cheap. And there's no way to take him out of the game plan with as good as their offense is moving right now, as strong as that offensive line looks in terms of their run blocking grades, as dangerous as Dak Prescott is with the weapons on the outside. He's running against light boxes consistently. There's no way to stop this right now. Saquon Barkley got injured randomly in that game. F's in the chat to pay respect. If we look at the New York Giants, Booker's only 5,400 going up against the Rams. Tough defense. I don't know if you want to play him, but he got all of the work, right? So like he basically got the Saquon Barkley treatment at a very cheap price and was one of the league leaders in terms of inside the 5 carries as well. So I like him, just as much. But Henderson's too cheap at 6,000. Assuming health, getting the majority, like 90% of the snaps at running back when healthy. Another week away from that rib injury. Even if Sony Michel has carved out a role and gets 25%, that's still 75% of the work. And like only 4 or 5 backs in week 5 played 75% of the snaps and got 75% of the touches on their team. It's just not a role that's out there. So he's getting this massive bell cow work against a team that should not stop him, including an awful lot of inside the 5 carries. Another guy that I wanted to look at, okay, Madison, obviously, if he's out. Joe Mixon, we already talked about. Antonio Gibson not getting used inside the 5-yard line. Jonathan Taylor, one of the league leaders in terms of inside the 5 carries. Hopefully, we'll find out on Monday night what his snap rate is. So I'm not going to include him in this lineup, but a very good running back for this week. The one thing chat's already yelling at me, don't trust Sean McVay. The one thing that we can trust with McVay is that he feeds his running backs when they get inside the 10-yard line. So as long as you've got the guy who is the primary guy, you have a fantasy safe, fantasy centric role for your running back with a really high floor and opportunity for a multiple touchdown ceiling. And 6K is entirely too low for that. We can optimize this to see who's playing late if you want. I mean, look, they're 10 a.m. Good, everybody's early. I don't have to change anything. Only 3 late games. Come on, NFL, do better. So we have Eckler plugged in. We have Henderson plugged in, which means that I need a bring back play, which means I need a wide receiver that goes with one of these running backs, or I'm going to have to go with a wide receiver or tight end. Let's just plug in a defense real quick, just to kind of see what we have left there. Like we're around there. So we have like 8,900 left for 2 spots. At tight end, if Kelsey's healthy, he's a monster. We know that, right? And it provides you with this massive edge over the field, even on a game where he got a stinger and got pulled late in a game that they got throttled. Again, 10 targets, 17 DraftKings points. He's a lock and load pretty much every week, especially if Hill's out. You could assume that his volume is going to go up. The other thing that we have to picture, if Hill is out, Tyreek Hill expected to miss time after a minor knee injury. We're going to see bumps. We just don't know where they're going to be yet. Mecole Hardman already has a solidified role and is already seeing a lot of routes and targets, but somebody like Pringle at 3,200 might see a massive bump in terms of his routes run. Come on, circle. Come on, circle. It's not doing the thing. Robinson, Josh Gordon at 3,400. There's value now at wide receiver. There's value now at wide receiver on Kansas City. We're going to have to wait until that becomes a thing. I'm just going to let this circle be a circle. So looking for a secondary stack wide receiver here. Kadarius Toney could go with him. It's going to depend on... I don't think he's going to get suspended for throwing a punch. He issued a very good apology. Marquise Brown, 5,900. Again, we're going to have to wait for seeing what happened with Monday Night Football against the Chargers, against Indianapolis as they play the Chargers this week. His role is pretty much secure on this team. We just have to see what the other parts are around him. At tight end, as I was saying before, Schultz has been outstanding. Kelsey's amazing. Waller, you have a great floor of targets. Could go with this. Andrews, as the Chargers have been very giving against opposing tight ends, if you wanted to pay for that. I'm going to come down here. RSJ is just way too cheap again. He's going to play like 95% of the snaps. He ran a route on 75% of the routes. He's only 3K. He does have pass game chops. He has done very well in his career when given opportunity. In the second half against Atlanta, after Logan Thomas left, he played like 100% of the snaps, ran 75% of routes on dropbacks. Same thing against New Orleans, full game, 75% routes on dropbacks, played like 95% of the snaps, got 8 targets. That's too cheap for 3K, guys. Leaving me 5,900. I'll leave it up to you which way you want to go. Marquise Brown, fine. Toney, fine. I'm probably going to roll with him, assuming that these guys are still going to be hurt this week. And he has done enough to carve out a role on this offense with 22 targets over the last 2 weeks. If you're not comfortable with the quarterback situation there, assuming that Daniel Jones can't clear protocol, you can go ahead and play Marquise Brown, who's your downfield tournament guy there, to pair with Austin Eckler as well. Plenty of correlation, plenty of targets, lots of touchdown upside, and that's going to be my week 5 tournament lineup. Thank you guys for watching. Look out for another video right there.
He's a legend.